I would like to extend a warm welcome to Ms. Gayathri Parthasarathy, India Financial Services Sector Leader and Global Financial Services Technology Leader at PwC India, who will be leading the plenary session and setting the strategic tone for today's discussions.
A very good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity, the Bombay Chamber of Commerce, for inviting me here to cover a few things which is, I think, set as a context already, right, in the opening session and also the introduction that we heard. What will truly be, right, very important for, say, maybe the insurance for all, if we look at the topic, right, insurance for all and Viksit Bharat. If you combine them independently or bringing them, converging them together, three pillars will come in front of us, and that is what I plan to cover, which is truly looking at in terms of innovation, inclusion, and what will be the digital future, right? And of course, associated with the digital future and innovation, you can't move away from managing the risks, because it comes as a bundled product. It is bundled with risks, right? How do you de-risk them, and how do you mitigate them, and how do you address the inclusion part of it as well, right? So I would say that insurance for all by 2047, right? The goal under the Viksit Bharat, scheme by the government and the Prime Minister, and also by IRDA, right? In terms of doing, what will happen, right? What will seem to happen if we really look at that scale and what we really look in terms of 2047, the kind of roadmap that we have in front of us, right? In terms of really we need to gear ourselves with an engine of scale and efficiency, right? That is a must. We can't not have the scale to be handled and not the efficiency to be also dealt with. And innovation has to deal with this as the scale for engine and also the efficiency that we can give. Because I would say why it matters, right, in terms of the engine of scale and the efficiency, because we will be processing millions and millions of policies, new policies, millions and billions of maybe, right, if I look at the current population, and if we say insurance for all, the claims, we have to do it efficiently, right, and without escalating the cost too much, because the cost cannot linearly escalate with respect to what we aspire to do, which is in terms of ensuring that there is at least one insurance for all, right? Insurance for all when you look at 2047 goals. So you really have to look at some innovations in my mind which are really mandatory and also absolutely making sure that we don't escalate the cost, as I said. So AI-driven underwriting, which is already coming in, but of course we'll talk about the risks and what we need to do, and to reduce the cost per policy, it will definitely reduce, and also it will make the low ticket insurance absolutely viable, because we need to make it viable. Because today the micro ticket, right, in terms of insurance, if it becomes unviable, then scaling becomes very difficult. So we need to make that viable. And we really need to get into embedded insurance and very clearly integrated into everyday transactions for frictionless adoption. We can't have friction, we need to have seamless integration in the ecosystem, and that is what is needed for the country to get insurance for all and innovation that when we look at it, right? And we also need, right, in terms of in everything today, personalization and hyper-personalization becomes very important, and it has become the key theme of being, right, getting sticky with the customer, getting the customer satisfaction and the customer, right, comfort. So hyper-personalized products, right, to make insurance again relevant to each customer. That will also, we have to innovate, right? What can be the kind of innovations that we can look at? Maybe, right, I need to look at an insurance product which will be relevant for a community-based insurance product. I have to really provide a community-based, right, in terms of maybe a set of auto rickshaw drivers a set of artisans were living, set of geeks were doing right. Some innovation which is very different as to set in. While we are on that path, we really look at in terms of whether varieties of innovation, whether it is products, whether it is operations, whether it is distribution, whether it is right in terms of technology, innovation is going to be the key theme, I would say, across, right, in terms of all walks of life, to make sure that we can get insurance for all, which is a big goal for the country, right? And of course, innovations will have to reduce operational cost. Innovations have to boost trust, which is very important. Again, Sathi sir explained about the trust. Without trust, there is nothing that we can do in the industry as well. And insurance affordable as well across all income levels, across the country, the entire population. That is what we are looking at, right, if we have to look at it. And when we come to, say, inclusion, right, I would say this is, to me, simply, if I have to simplify it, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, it can get into a kind of discussion then, expanding coverage to every segment is inclusion for me. If I have to say it in one line, right, can we do that? Is it possible to expand the coverage to every segment, and by thus we can provide coverage to the entire country, and that way we will achieve inclusion? Is that possible? And if so, what are we lacking today, and what are the things that we need to do for the future, right, from an inclusion perspective, right? And key strategies for that can be, right, already, which we are looking at, and maybe we have to, of course, go very aggressive on them. Micro insurance, the sachet products in rural, migrant and gig, all workers and across, I would say again, segments. Bundled insurances with government schemes to make sure, provide for the first time coverage, right, in an automatic way, and so that the coverage gets at least touched upon, right? Otherwise we will miss, we will not include them, right? And financial literacy drives, which will make sure that we can build trust, to make sure that people do and they are encouraged to voluntary adoption in terms of insurance. Today, the country lacks that, right? In terms of voluntary adoption is not there in terms of from an inclusion perspective. We need to get there, right? In terms of whatever. And of course, the informal sector is the largest. And if we aim to cover the informal sector by all the actions that I just outlined, I think we will be in a better position for insurance for all and in an inclusive way by 2047, right? That's an important area to look at, right? And looking at in terms of the digital future, I think it is, again, if I have to sort of simplify it or oversimplify it, it is an infrastructure to deliver the scale. It has to be the infrastructure that we look at to deliver the scale. Because digital has been going on. It's not new. It's few decades old now, right? 20 years we have been working on digitization. Digitization got a boost after post-pandemic. That itself is 5 years, it's going to be 5 years now, right? We can't say now post-pandemic like as if it happened yesterday. No, it's already 5 years. So the digitization and the digital boost has been happening for a long period of time. But is the infrastructure ready to deliver the scale? And how do we get that scale? Because without scale, we will not be able to achieve insurance for all as 100% for the country, and that is an important goal that we all need to keep in mind, right? So we really need to focus on AI powered, right, in terms of instant claims and settlements to reduce fraud and improve trust, which is very, very important. We need to use AI, but we also need to improve the trust, because that is when we will balance the act. Otherwise, we will not be balancing the act. Of course, right, in terms of there are voice-first platforms which are coming up. Make it, of course, in terms of multi-languages, vernacular, right, overcome language and literacy needs, barriers have to be broken completely across the country. It is very mandatory to do that. And also Satya sir spoke about blockchain and other technologies, which are again very important to operate at scale and to make sure that they are absolutely, fraud proof, and they can be trusted, and it is proven that it will be used by the country in a very safe manner, right? And transparency and portability across the kind of insurers that we can involve, right, with blockchain technologies will become very, very, very critical, right? So we will say that digital, right, in terms of future, have to have the right infrastructure for which will deliver the scale and will cut the service time that we'll need to really, really look at it, because we are looking at in terms of providing service to billions of people now. It is no longer the 4%, 3.84, maybe we drop to 3.9. No, we will have to go to 8%. If you have to go to 8%, then what do we need to do? And we need to cut the service time, and that is what will be very impactful from weeks to months to weeks to weeks to hours to whatever, instant. That is the way the world will operate, and that is what India has to gear up for, right, in terms of doing it, if you are talking about Viksit Bharat in 2047 and insurance for all. And how will it all work together, right? It's like we can't take 3-4 different things and say seamlessly operate kind of a scenario, right? It cannot. We need to work on that also, right? I would say, right, in terms of, as I said, as an example, we need to create, innovation creates new low-cost relevant products. Pay as you drive, we spoke about it, right? In terms of pay as you drive is coming up. Maybe pay not only as you drive, also the way you drive, the age that you are in, right? You have multiple things, right, that can be brought in. The history can be based on how I drive. My insurance premium can be lower than what Amit will pay, right? Because he drives differently, okay? So that's a, or maybe his is lower than mine, okay? It could be, right? So you have to pay as you drive as to get multiple dimensions attached to it from an innovation angle, right? And that is, and look at this for a rural two-wheeler owners. How will you define a product? Pay as you drive, and with how you drive history as well, for a rural two-wheeler owners as a community, right? This is the kind of innovation we need to start thinking through. This may sound like stupid today when I'm standing here and talking, but this is what will drive in terms of for innovation of the future from a product perspective. Inclusion, we spoke about inclusion, will have to reach every demographic without a doubt, right? And we also look at, right, in terms of maybe how do you really, whatever we are doing with Kisan credit cards, can I bundle something with them? Can I unbundle something? How do I reach? How do I make the reachability much faster kind of, approach? Digital future from a delivery at scale. I want an AI chatbot truly today, which will speak in multi-languages and especially in our Rashtriya Bhasha, in the explaining and issuing a health cover. Can we get that done seamlessly? And can we get that done faster, quicker, and for today's need, right? That's the kind of approach that we will have to get. So as I said, we have to cover all the households. We have to move from lowering on 4 to 8% in terms of the penetration, and the claims have to be settled much faster, and insurance become default part of economic life, and it is embedded seamlessly and into daily activities, and it is not a push. That is Viksit Bharat and insurance for all. In my sort of a little summary, I'm not a veteran who spoke before me from the insurance industry. I have the financial services background. Based on my experience, I feel this is what we need to do differently, right, in terms of doing. And risk prevention in innovation and digital future is very, very important, as I said. There would be cybersecurity threats. There would be data privacy issues that will crop up. There would be algorithmic bias in AI if we use. We have to clear and we have to make sure we are out and clear of all those risks. So the role of the CRO and the risk organization will become so important in as we do innovate and as we really move towards the digital future, that they are really have in terms of making sure elimination of all this, including the fraud risk and operational resilience risks that are associated with all these things that we are looking at it, and making sure that it is part of the 2047 goal, how we empower from the risk perspective as well, right, in terms of doing this. That is what would be my summary on the 3 pillars that I've been, given to address. And thank you again for the opportunity. And it is indeed my pleasure and honor to address, the industry veterans and the audience come across from various walks of life. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I now request our Director General, Mr. Sandeep Khosla, to please present a memento to Ms. Gayathri Parthasarathy as a token of appreciation. Thank you.